called Copeology. I created the word, and I also had it trademarked. And if you think of the word, what do you hear in there? Cope, and there's another word. Okay, ology, well, you know, a word, an ending. And ology means the study of something, right? So if there's copeology, we are studying how to cope. So what that means, if we can master how to cope with all that we struggle through, we'll be able to continue going through the struggle. So I'm a mental health therapist, and what I realized, especially during the pandemic, everyone cannot afford therapy. But we all have some type of issue that we need to talk through. We have secrets, we have family things going on. And so I wanted to create a way that people can read, learn, and grow without really having to do a lot of work, finding a therapist, paying, expressing their thoughts. So, Copeology, I'm going to read the back what it's about. So, are you trying to cope with life struggles? Anybody trying to cope? I think all of our hands are trying to go up, right? Okay, you're coping with something. Are you in need of more support? Do you want to learn how to use your spirituality to cope with life's stressors? Then this anthology is for you. It covers how to deal with grief and loss, being a black man in the world today, disabilities, surviving COVID-19, infidelity, anxiety and fears, trauma, and single parenting. So as an anthology, this book is made up of several people's stories on how they use spirituality to deal with the traumas in life today. And so my passage, I have a short story in here, and I'm going to read it to you all really short. My part, it goes, as an adult, I remember the day I could not help my oldest son with a wish that he had. He was around 12 years old, playing football with the local community center. He had a big game that he was preparing, playing in his most desired position. One evening, he turned to me and said, "Mom, I wish Daddy can come to my game." At that time, his dad and I were separated and he lived in another state. There was no way that I could make his dream come true. So I turned to him and said, "Son, all we can do is pray on it." So he closed his burgundy brown eyes and we prayed. We asked for his dad to come and see his game one day. Well, lo and behold, fast forward, within a week, and by that same weekend, his dad caught a flight into Baltimore and was in attendance at the football game. That was the moment that my son learned the power of prayer. The lesson to be learned? Sometimes in life, things happen, such as divorce, separation, and even death, that can take a psychological toll on you and loved ones. However, when we pray and ask for exactly what we want, believe in it, and be open and ready to receive it, it will happen. So the book has short stories on other traumas, but what's really important, at the end, I give counseling, psychological tips on self-love. Men need self-care too. How to deal with loss, how to deal with trauma. And they're really quick and easy reminders that you can just open any day and use it. A little bit more about myself. I am from Brooklyn, New York. My parents are from Trinidad and Tobago. And the family is from West Africa. I live in Maryland, been living in Maryland for years, so I did all of my schooling in the Maryland, D.C. area. I love people, and I'm so happy that we're all here to share. I was just saying that we need to do this again in about 3 months. So thank you all for listening, and I look forward to connecting with everyone.
Yes, I have a new homegirl that I met. She did the the same thing I did. It's a funny thing. I came down here when I was 18 years old to go to Howard University. I graduated and I wound up staying. I have an uncle on my mother's side and an uncle on my dad's side. And both of them never forgave me. They made the statement, yeah, she went down to Washington, D.C. to go to school and she never came back. Until they closed their eyes for the final time, they never forgave me for that. But it's been a rewarding experience moving down here. Our next presenter, and it's good meeting home people who have gone through the same experience. Our next presenter is my sister, Kichi Taifa. Most of you all may know her. She is a power force in the community, and I love her dearly. And she has, okay, all the things. She's an author, a mother, a lawyer, an activist. Revolutionary. Oh, okay. How did I leave that out? A revolutionary. So thank you.
Thank you so very much, my sisters. Thank you, UNIA. All right, so I'm Kichi Taifa, and what I thought I would use my time, I have a new book out called Reparations on Fire. 2 years ago, my memoir came out, Black Power, Black Lawyer, My Audacious Quest for Justice. But what I thought I would do with Reparations on Fire, you know, this issue is sweeping the country like a storm. And last year, I did a TED Talk. I don't know if y'all familiar with TED Talk. Make sure you're aware of TED Talk. Okay, but anyways, it's a white people thing. But anyway, I did a TED Talk on the issue of reparations. And so I'm going to just kind of share that with you. And when you do a TED Talk, you up there, you got to memorize. I said, oh my God, I'll never do that again. So I have my transcript with me because I don't remember the memorizing part of it so much anymore. So it's called Reparations, an Issue Whose Time Has Come. All right. I was inspired by an awesome revelation when I was young. And it propelled nearly everything I did in life. Why I adopted an African name, why I kept my hair natural, why I marched and rallied, why I became a lawyer fighting for justice. What is my story? Tight hip hugger, bell-bottom blue jeans, platform stacked heels, huge giant African gala around my head. I had the whole of y'all. 16-year-old high school teenage rebellious me. I remember those days like they were yesterday. Racing to catch the bus down Georgia Avenue, past Howard University, to the office of the Black Panther Party. I was not a Panther. I was just a curious, young, naive girl who loved sitting on the lap of that fine brother in the front office who was supposed to be filling security. Okay, where am I? Every Saturday, I excitedly met the brothers and sisters downtown in front of the Soul Shack record store to help sell the organization's newspaper. One sizzling hot day, I took a break, I wiped my brow, I sat down on the curb, and I opened up the paper to its 10-point program, what we want, what we believe. I just could not get the wording of point number 3 out of my head. We believe that this racist government has robbed us, and now we are demanding the overdue debt of 40 acres and 2 mules promised 100 years ago for restitution for slave labor and mass murder of Black people. We will accept the payment in currency, which will be distributed to our many communities. Wow. It sounded magical. A magic way more powerful than Shazam or Abracadabra or Open Sesame. A magic, which gave my rebelliousness definition. It was the concept of reparations. Reparations. To finally find a word, an idea, something that I had been looking for my entire life. It imbued me with a new awareness. I was captivated. I was inspired. And I talked about reparations whenever and wherever I could. I'm sorry, this thing is all messed up. profits made by corporations, insurance companies, the banking and investment industries, and academic and religious institutions from enslavement, or that this uncompensated labor helped to prop up not only these entities, but also the federal government, as well as states and municipalities. But on a second level, I could feel within my bones and see within my communities the trauma from the enslavement era down through the years, the ever-present cultural assault on our pride, dignity, and self-esteem, the continuing negative impact on jobs and income, the inequalities in education, disparities in health, and the unfairness in the justice system. Reparations. Yeah, I don't know. It's just that this technology, I always have my papers in front of me. Anyway, reparations. Yes, the issue is hot, scalding. It's on fire, and at one time unthinkable by mainstream America as viable public policy. Yet, it's only a question. Should the United States government pay reparations to the descendants of Africans enslaved? Just a question. I'm just going to go by. Just a question Congressman John Conyers would say. We ask questions about everything. What's in the sky? What's underneath the water? Interesting questions, he would say to me. But this one has been studiously avoided. Why? The answer may be because few questions challenge society to uncover over 400 years of history all at once, to tunnel within our souls and to truly think about what we believe about race and equity and the value to be placed on human suffering. Think about what, if anything, is owed to the descendants of those who were kidnapped, sold, raped, castrated, stripped of humanity, language, and culture. Indeed. Why shouldn't the great-great-grandchildren of those who, after emancipation, were denied land, leased by prisons as convict laborers, subjected to Jim Crow segregation laws, stripped of the right to vote, forcibly sterilized, relegated to substandard housing, worsened by the denial of credit known as redlining, blocked from military benefits under the GI Bill, economically dispossessed, forced into the lowest paying jobs, bound to an inferior and false education, inundated with disparate health care, and imperiled to a mass incarceration unmatched in human history. Why should black people not be compensated? But then think about this. What about white American taxpayers who never owned any slaves, never lynched anyone, never participated in redlining? Why should they pay for the sins of poor fathers and poor mothers they never knew? Or what about those ancestors whites whose ancestors survived long after the chattel enslavement period? Has the United States government already paid reparations to affirmative action? What type of price tag should be put on over 2 centuries of legalized inhumanity? What about Oprah? Should she get a check? Regardless of what one might think about all these questions, one fact is sure: reparations is not a fairy tale, but it is a well-established principle of both domestic and international law, which the United States government has participated in and is very much aware of. The 16-year-old native Washingtonian me sitting on the curb that day had not learned in school that reparations were in fact paid right here in the nation's capital after slavery. The problem is the funds weren't paid to black people. The funds went to the former white slave owners. The 20-year-old college student, history major me, had not learned that the country of Haiti, which heroically won its freedom in 1803, was forced to pay reparations to France all the way up through 1947, long after both the enslavers and the enslaved were dead. I didn't know that the British government paid reparations when it abolished slavery in 1833, not to the formerly enslaved, but it came to the former slaveholders. And guess what? Those reparations to the white descendants into the descendants of 11 Italian lynching victims in New Orleans were paid reparations by the United States government. I began to think, well, what about us? How many of us were lynched? What type of reparations ever were paid to us? Why were black people not respected as others? Why are atrocities that were committed against Japanese Americans and Native peoples addressed to an extent, but not those of African Americans? How can an administration righteously seek justice for immigrant children separated from their families at the border while historically snatching black babies from mothers' breasts? How can an anti-Asian hate crimes bill sail through Congress while anti-lynching legislation struggled for over a century up through just last year to finally see the light of day? We must be straightforward about rights and wrongs. We must stop the false narrative that because slavery ended over a century ago, that nothing is due. There is no statute of limitations on addressing human rights abuses. And deaths are neither absolved nor diminished by the passage of time. In fact, anyone with a credit card painfully knows that over time, debts grow larger with accrued interest. We all stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. Each generation passes its debts as well as its assets on to the next generation. The heritage which whites in this country enjoy is what has been called white skin privilege. They benefit from a state, a society, a strong social structure which is governed by white supremacy. And although we may debate the who, what, when, and how of remedy, there is no question that whites in this country enjoy the fruits of over 400 years of unjust enrichment. On April 4th, when Martin Luther King was assassinated, we pay homage to this man who once talked about coming to Washington to cash a check he preached, which deplorably has come back, insufficient funds. But let's not get stopped on just a check. You see, my reparations journey has allowed me to develop a much broader view of remedy than I had as a teenager, as well as recognition that repair is not for the enslavement era alone, but for its living, continuing legacies that last all the way down through to today. You see, more than black bodies were stolen. Our names, our religions, our languages, our history, our very peoplehood has been gutted. The harms from the enslavement era and beyond were multifaceted. Thus, the remedies must be multifaceted as well. Indeed, a reparations settlement can be fashioned in as many ways as necessary to equitably address the incalculable injuries that have been sustained as a result of this crime against humanity. Thankfully, I'm no longer amongst the isolated talking about reparations, no longer ridiculed or ostracized. I've been in the reparations movement 50 years now. The magic has long since worn off, but I have never been more optimistic. You see, the issue of reparations is no longer fringe, but it is now front and center. The conversation is growing. There are more faith organizations, sororities and fraternities, professional and social justice groups, and civil and human rights organizations than ever advancing reparations. Congressional legislation is escalating. The state of California is engaged right now today in historic hearings. Local jurisdictions are enthusiastically establishing commissions. Evanston, Illinois is a trailblazer. The U.S. Conference of Mayors, a Players Coalition of professional athletes, coaches, and owners across leagues, amalgamated by, and many more have picked up the banner. Past damages are being uncovered. White allied groups are committed to truth-telling. Even Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream has issued a call to other corporations to support reparations. However, despite being on the front lines of this movement, I humbly admit I don't have definitive answers to all of the questions being raised about reparations. Indeed, I spent the lion's share of my life really trying to get people not to be afraid to just utter the word reparations. Today's reparation movement is not monolithic. There will be and there are different understandings. That is why federal, state, and local jurisdictions exploring and establishing study commissions are so important. important. So please, don't fret being uninformed, ill-informed, misinformed, or oblivious, but do be part of the momentum embracing reparations as a legitimate conversation. What else can you do? You can encourage your companies, your universities, your faith organizations to keep an open mind and support reparations. You can put a reparations now sign in your front yard, and you can do this, you can do that, you can do all that, you can do all that, but you can also get my book. I'm just bringing it down to a close. Reparations on Fire, how and why it's spreading across America. I have a couple of copies here, but it's also on Amazon. You can get it from your Black bookstore. You can get it from AALBC.com, that's African American Literature Book Club. And also my book, my memoir, got the name of it. My memoir, Black Power, Black Warrior, My Audacious Quest for Justice. Was it Mom? You got it? Yes. I can't hear.
No, I said, did you say that some Italians got reparations?
Oh, yeah. The families of 11 Italian people who were lynched in New Orleans, they received in 1892 reparations from the United States government for those lynchings. Now, how many of us has been lynched? We don't learn this stuff in schools.
That's right.
Okay, we don't learn about the sundown towns and all those places where you had to be out of the jurisdiction before it flowed sundown before you being lynched. We don't know about whole towns. We just recently heard about Tulsa, Oklahoma, but Tulsa was not an isolated massacre. You had Elaine, Arkansas. You had Wilmington, North Carolina. You know, whole towns. People just talk about land being lost. Okay, stolen. There are so many stories that are just now being uncovered. Just in California, there was beachfront property called Cruces Beach, owned by black families, just stolen from them. The only type of respite we had was this black beach, just stolen, well, just last year. Okay? As a result of the momentum around reparations, the state was forced to give back the land, the beachfront property, to the descendants of the family who first had it in the early 1900s, and now they're leasing it back to the state for, I don't know how many $1 million a year. I mean, I'm just saying.
30.
You got it? You don't have 30 million?
They couldn't sell it for more.
Then you got
That
it.
was part of the agreement.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yes. Thank you very much. Bruce's Beach in California, Manhattan, California. So, get my book, Reparations on Fire. I talk a lot about that and a whole lot of other stuff as well. So, thank you.
That was quite informative. I did not know a lot of that. And that's the problem. So when you come here to events like this, you learn so much, you learn new things because of the fact that we as black authors, we investigate these things. And Nkechi has been on the trail for a long, long time. I'd like to take this moment for a couple of things. One, I would like to introduce to you Brother Everett from Baltimore, Maryland. He is the division president of Division 106 of the UNIA. So this is he is a representative of our sister division.
Peace and blessings, everybody. First of all, I want to give a shout out to our brother Dwayne Page. He's just newly appointed as second vice president. So please give him a round of applause. It's always a blessing to be here. I want to salute you, all the authors. Oh, I'm sorry, our secretary, Brother Frank Shaw over there. It's always a privilege to support our authors, and I want to give you guys a lot of love. Marcus Garvey tells us we must read at least 4 hours a day. It's best to read at night so when we go to sleep we can think about it and it'll come into our subliminal consciousness. So I'm hoping to get a few of you guys books and support you, but also to share the videos of you speaking because it's very important, especially for Black authors. We need to promote you guys. This is a wonderful event. I'm glad I'm blessed to be here and not see it on Zoom, to be in person, to see you guys, to feel the energy, and to really connect. So I want to thank you. And the next time you guys are doing something, let's share information so we can get people from Baltimore to support as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Very good, brother. We're so glad to have you as our minister of information as well as our sister or brother division. Also, is food here? Not yet. Not yet? Okay. You can tell I'm hungry. I haven't eaten anything all day. But also, I just want to emphasize that we have two campaigns going in our division. One is to rally around the red, black, and green flag. There are about 5 times during the year that we want to emphasize that you come out and you wave your red, black, and green flag. That is the liberation flag and the flag that Marcus Garvey introduced. Okay, of course, the red is for the what? The black is for the what? And the green is for the what? Okay. And the gold is for what they stole. You know, and it's a constant thing that they steal everything.
Yep.
You know, it's nothing that they don't take. And when Nkichi was talking about reparations and getting back, I remember about 4 years ago there was this thing that came out about we want our land back. We want our dances back. We want our songs back. We want our food back. We want our designs back. You can think of anything that happens in the United States, especially, but across the planet, that they have not taken and adopted and claimed as theirs.
Most of all, we want our minds back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have to work on that. We definitely have to work on that. Because even down to Martin Luther King statue being a white statue. Now, they could have made it any other color that they wanted to, and they made it a light gray, off-white statue. So Charles always said, I knew they was going to find a way to make it white. So, I just wanted to add that. So, rallying around the flag, of course, is Black History Month. You need to wave your flag proudly all month long. Then the next time is in May, when we have Malcolm X's birthday and African Liberation Day. Then the next time is in Juneteenth. Of course, that's June 19th. The next time is in August, and almost celebrating the whole month of August, but especially from August 13th to August 17th, which is, the 17th is also Marcus Garvey's birthday, and it's Black August. And then finally in December, with Kwanzaa, and celebrating Kwanzaa period from, of course, the 26th of December to January 1st. Oh, by the way, not a shameless plug, we're really plugging it. We sell red, black, and green flags. They are made and distributed by Black designer and sewer. Now, it's not as cheap as the ones that the Chinese produce. However, the quality and the workmanship is beyond compare. So we would like for you to support us in waving the flag around.
Bye Black.
Bye Black. Now the second, I was just getting ready to thank you, Blair. The second point is to buy Black. Of course, our kickoff of supporting our Black authors is the first thing that we're talking about doing. And our President General, Michael Duncan, has suggested that we buy Black all month long. However, the UNIA Division 330 had already started our campaign back in December. Actually, we started it, we talked about it in August, that we wanted you to buy Black at least one day a week. Black, to support Black people one day a week. We're going to start with one day a week. Now, it used to be, it was buy Black Tuesday, but Tuesday may not be a good day for you. But good news, there's 6 other days that you could think about buying Black. Like hairdressers, barbers, pedicures, books, dry cleaners. You may have to travel a little farther, but it's worth it. We're supporting Black people. So those are our 2 campaigns that we're so glad that those of you who are here to support our Black authors. And now I would like to move on to our next author. This sister her name is Sharita Berry Pettis. And wait a minute. I met her maybe about a week before we had our first Know Thyself Book Fair and Authors Forum. Every year she has supported us, either in person or virtually. And every year her presentation just grows and grows. And that's what we want to see. You know, the young lady, she's a few months away from getting her doctorates, and we are so proud of her as an educator. We're so proud of her as an educator. And like I said, she had some books and they were laying down on the table the first year. You see that we have a big display now. So I am just so proud of you. And I just want you to know that, and I appreciate that you have supported that. So without further ado, Sister Pettis.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sister Brother. I look forward to your phone call and email every year around this time. And I appreciate you for loving on me and just support me in the way that you do. So, as mentioned, my name is Mrs. Sharita Berry Pettis. I am an educator and an author. I am here, like, if you know, books make perfect gifts. If you have nieces, nephews, any little ones in your life, they should have a book that looks like them in some type of way. I noticed, I wrote my first book in 2016, and that was Rock On With Your Afro Puffs. As a kindergarten teacher, a little girl in my classroom was being made fun of because of her hair. And the only thing I could think of was my hair looked just like hers as a little girl. So to make the situation better, I immediately found some younger pictures of myself and brought them to school. And then it was cool in my classroom to have kinky little puffs at that time. And so I remember at night I would just, after my shower, I would just get my notepad and write. And I would know. I also noticed, as an educator, I was really upset when I seen a book about my dad is in jail. And as you can tell, that author was not a person who looks like us, but the characters in the story were. And I said that was a powerful message for me to know that I, as an educator, why not write children's books? I work with kids every day, and I know the messages that they need to hear. So ever since then, it has been my mission to teach children that they're perfect exactly the way that they are. Long story short, I was born to teenage parents in Nashville, Tennessee. And similar to Sister Butler, I came from Nashville, Tennessee and went to the University of Maryland and never went home. So I have been in this area now for 19 years. My mom also gets upset with me, said I was supposed to come back home, and she tells me that all the time, but my family is here now, and I love it. So, like I said, my first book was Rock Home Care Afro Plus. It's all about teaching little girls that their hair is their superpower. And it defies gravity and it's special, okay? And then my second book was Smile Bright Chocolate Prince. It was special to me because I am a mother of 3 sons. And they were like, how are you going to write a book for little girls and you didn't write one for us? So I had to write one for them. But most importantly, I want the little boys to know that their smiles bring light to our world and that they have a powerful role as a leader and many other things. So you can come check it out. All the books on the stand are Touch Me books, so feel free to open them and read them so you can see the messages in the stories. I also know the power of words. So I designed the book of magical words for young scholars and numbers. So a lot of times as parents or new parents may not know exactly what to teach their children. And I always tell parents, whatever you know, teach them that. If it's letters, if it's numbers, do not let that child come to school and know nothing. And as an educator who works with low-income communities, a lot of times they come to my door with nothing, not even knowing how to spell their name or the letters in their name. And I hate to say it, but at that point, they are behind. Kindergarten today is not like kindergarten used to be. Back then, when either the 70s or the 80s, in kindergarten you just had to know letters and you had to count to 20. In today's time, in kindergarten, you have to be able to read, you have to be able to compose and decompose numbers, you have to know all your letters, all your sounds, and all, in addition to all the other things. So that's why I always try to help parents in any way to let them know if you get my books like Hey Numbers and The Marvelous World of Shapes, you can work with your kids before they get to kindergarten. And I say all of this to say, my mom gave me a powerful message, even though she had me at a young age. She told me that education was my way out and that I was beautiful. So I didn't care what nobody said, if they talked about my nose, if they talked about whatever, I knew I was cute. And I don't know if I told you, but I'm the CEO of Building Confident Scholars. Because if you are confident as a kid, you're confident in school, and you're more confident in life. And confident children take risks, and they take chances. They're okay or willing to make mistakes. So we know as adults, if you're more confident people tend to perform better in life. And so that's what I do with my sons and the children in my classroom. I let them know that they're beautiful, that they're powerful, and they're able to do whatever that they put their minds to. So like I said, I have 7 children's books, 4 coloring books over here. I have a working mommy journal because I realize as a mother, sometimes we forget to reflect on motherhood. And when through reflection, that's how you can improve and make yourself better. And also not to forget yourself as well. So I have a working mommy journal. I have composition books where if you just like to jot and journal, they're only $5. Just come on by and stop by and see whatever you can pick up. Whether it's a gift for the little ones in your life or, just to get inspiration for anything. So, like I said, my name is Sharita Berry Pettis. I'm an educator. 3 degrees later, with this doctorate, it will be number 4, and I'm done. But thank you for listening, and feel free to stop by.
Thank you once again. Like I said, the display is beautiful. Sharita's work is just so professional, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, it took a long time for us to, as women, to appreciate, what is it, being happy, unhappy? Just appreciate the hair that we have on our heads, because they made us so self-conscious. So, it's so good that we have books that give a positive image and allow the children to have a positive image of themselves. So thank you again. I remember working on a textbook review committee one time, and it was 3 teachers, a librarian, and a music teacher. So the books came in, and we started talking about the books, and it was so interesting because the librarian started saying, "Well, I don't like that book because it has black people, black children being subservient to white children in a particular book." And that's the problem that we have a lot of times, is that white authors will write about black people, and if we see black images, we automatically think that it's written by a black author. So a lot of times you have to check and see what's really going on, and then check in the books to see what type of message is being portrayed. And it makes a difference, it really does. Okay, she's not back yet. Mr. McGonigal, are you, let me look and see. I have, is Bruce ready? He's not ready. Are you ready? Okay. Our next person, presenter, author, we always ask him to come, but he doesn't have a book, but it really is a book. And they've been doing it for what, 47 years? 48? 47. Okay, I'm talking about Black Seed calendars. I don't know if you all are familiar with Black Seed calendars, but Black Seed calendars are not just calendars. They are actual books with information, a host of information. Keisha again? She's in here, right? Yes. I forgot. I thought I remember seeing a write-up with Nkechi in this calendar. So we just got a whiff of what she was talking about with her book, but I just want to let you know about Black Seed calendars. And Mike has been the editor and founding person and to produce these calendars every year for 47 years. It's almost 50 years, folks. And these calendars are treasures. He also has a whole collection of most of the calendars as well. But this is the calendar for 2023. So Mike, could you step up here and talk, please? It's amazing. And we have the homie sisters in the background. I love the colors. Love them.
Good afternoon. As the sister said, I am not an author. And I'm one of several editors of Black Seed. Several of us that work on that, do the research and do the producing, but I was one of the founding people of Black Seed. We got started in 1974 in Northeast Washington. And our objective at that time was to assist and to educate, to organize, and to unify Black people in the D.C. area. We started out with several community programs, Saturday school for children, what now we call a mentoring program for teenagers, GED program, community forums, that type of thing. As a part of our objective, one of the brothers in the organization at that time, Zama Cook, came up with the idea of producing a calendar that did more than just give birth dates for Black people, Black entertainers, Black politicians. And what his idea was that instead of just having pictures with the calendar itself, that above the calendar for each month, there would be an article that was of historical value or something that was a commentary on current issues facing Black people. Additionally, and this is what you see in a lot of Black calendars, they have what we call Black facts. It's just dates, again, it's birth dates. It might be a date like the Orangeburg Massacre in South Carolina. that for every month in addition to the write-up that is above the calendar. Like Maureen said, this year's calendar included the sister that spoke earlier, Nikichi. And I didn't hear all of what she had to say, but I don't know if you all are aware of her history. I mean, that sister's been working not just on reparations, but release of political prisoners. And just throughout, she was just basically an activist lawyer for so many people across the country. Also, in this year's calendar, we talk about the release of several political prisoners who have been incarcerated since the 1970s. We also talk about another sister in the area, Io Handy Kendi, who is celebrating this month, actually the 13th of this month, the 30th anniversary of the institution of Black Love Day. There's an article on Black washerwomen which shows that our sisters were resisting. This was right after the Civil War. They actually formed the first labor union in Mississippi after the Civil War. And what they were doing was they were organizing against white people who were trying to keep their rates down because they did all the washing for white people. This is all across the country. And they were trying to obviously suppress the wages for these sisters. And so it's a very interesting article because it was the beginning of the labor movement in this country. There's an article on Africa and the need to unite and resist. There's an article earlier, I think it was Nikichi, it might have been Maureen, talked about Tulsa and the damage that was done to that city and several others. But as they mentioned, there were several other cities that were actually destroyed by white vigilantes. And we kind of focus on some of those, we call them marvels, black marvels, because it was such a marvelous thing these cities had actually done. Some of them were actually not just part of a larger city like Tulsa, but some like Mound Bayou, Mississippi, was formed and perpetuated solely by black people. So you actually had black towns, solely black towns in this country. We also have articles on sisters who were instrumental in the Cuban Revolution and fighting against oppression in that country, even before Castro and his people started resisting. Also in the calendar, we have every year we do a poster on a particular topic. This year it happened to be on Kwame Nkrumah. And what we did was just took excerpts from the speech he gave at the founding convention of OAU in 1963. But every year, in addition to the calendar months, we produce that poster as a part of the calendar. And it's something you can put up on the wall, and you can fold it, keep it in a book, a scrapbook, whatever. There are other parts to the calendar too, other than just the days of the month and the facts. We have a suggested, or not suggested, but a reading list, a book list that is broken into categories, and it's just a suggestion, place for people to start if they haven't read some of these. It's a place to start. And I know some of the books that you all heard about today are in that book list. We also have African stats. Every year we try to update populations and give some other interesting things. For instance, one that says more than 4.6 million black people in the U.S. were born outside the country, meaning that nearly 10% of the black population in this country is foreign born. And it's sort to show that we still have a lot of us are coming here. It makes up a substantial part of our population. One other section that unfortunately we have added the last 10 years or so is a section called Ancestors Rising. And that just pays tribute to brothers and sisters from all over the country who have made a significant contribution to our struggle. And they have passed on to the ancestors. We try to give them some recognition and thanks. Trying to see. That's what that page looks like at the top. And again, it's unfortunate because I think we started doing this. We were only having like maybe 10 people or so in there every year. Now, this has got to be close to 30 in here this year. And we still, obviously can't put everybody in there, but it just goes to show you that we are the people who've been involved in the struggle so long, they are aging. Laureen, I think I've about covered it. I do have this year's calendars over there. I have old issues, which are very good also because the dates are obviously gone, but the black facts last forever, and the topics, the information about individuals, organizations, and even countries is just as relevant today as it was in 1980. So, and I have those can be purchased individually, and as I think somebody mentioned earlier, we do have larger packets where you can get 20 to 30 of the old calendars. So you're welcome to come over and look through and see if you find anything of interest. And again, I want to thank Laureen and UNIA for inviting us. I mean, we would miss it for the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was funny when we first started and we talked about the book fair, and all of a sudden the Black Sea calendar came to mind. Because it's like a book, and every month is a different topic, and it's a host of information every single year. So please step over to this table and just pick up a calendar. That's good. We have still another 11 months to go. The next person that I would like to bring up is Ms. Sheila Brown. She's going to talk about her book in terms of women's self-help. She also has a big poster there. As you come in, you can see it. So without further ado, please tell us about your book. Thank you.
Peace and blessings, family. How are you all doing today? So I started off real strong and courageous, and as each of the speakers came up, my stomach started bubbling and nervousness came over, and I was like, oh, I'm having to walk to these people. But I'm humbled to be in the presence of my elders and of people who clearly love books and love our history. And if you will, if I may get permission from an elder to speak, I will proceed. Thank you. So my name is Sheila Brown, and I am an author, I'm a speaker, I'm also an attorney, and I am an aspiring grandmother. And I say that first because when I wrote this book, I wrote it from the perspective of me as an 86-year-old grandmother, speaking way into the future to the children, particularly the daughters that I pray are to come, to educate them about what legacy they hail from. And what do I mean by that? Well, I've written a book called The Divine Self-Care Strategy, a Wellness Guide to Total Body Alignment. But that title is a little deceptive because it doesn't reveal to the reader, it doesn't expose the reader to what 9 chapters of this book really entail. In this book, we are taking a journey through time. In fact, I did a little bit of time traveling in writing this book, and I haven't quite been able to come back from that period. I went back to a period where the Honorable Frederick Douglass was on stage in 1852, and he was invited to give a speech before the ladies' anti-slavery societies. And I traveled forward 115 years to Dr. King on the night before his assassination, and I talked to my future granddaughters and grandsons about something that Dr. King said on that night. You know a part of that speech so well where he talks about, I'm not afraid anymore. I've been to the mountaintop. Well, there's another part of that speech that is very little discussed and little known that I discuss in this book. And then I go back a little bit further and I talk a little bit with Mother Harriet Tubman, and I ask her some questions about what does she want us to know about the elements of air, fire, earth, and water, and what they meant for our people historically, and what do they have to do with the future. And if you will allow me to share some of the insights that I got from our ancestors, I would be so pleased. So I'm going to talk to you first about a question that I asked the Most High, because I was looking around the world and I saw some things that were really upsetting to my spirit. I saw everyday indices that children, little girls, little black boys were just going missing. And I kept wondering to myself, how is it that our babies and even grown women and men are just disappearing and nobody knows? And I looked around, and every time I saw our people, I saw us kind of engaging, not the people in here obviously, but our people in general, in these kind of trivial conversations that didn't have anything to do with liberation, about the future, about food shortages, about how we are going to move forward in the world. And I kept saying to myself, well, when are we going to have some important conversations? And then I looked at the way that the world is moving at a nuclear level, and at the conversations that the rest of the world is having around global politics. And I thought about the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey and our Queen Mother Amy Garvey, and I thought about what did they have to say. And so I asked the Creator, I said, how are you okay with your people being in this situation, Father? How are you okay? Now, forgive me if that is offensive. I don't mean to offend anyone. I do relate to the Creator sometimes as Father, because I have a special relationship with the Divine Patriarch that means something important to me. So I don't mean to be disrespectful. But the answer that I got surprised me, and ironically, it took me a year to digest and research what the answer was, and the result of that was this really unsuspecting but very powerful book called The Divine Self-Care Strategy. So y'all want to hear what the answer to the question was? You have everything you need to defeat your enemies. And I said, really now? Well, the only thing I've ever seen you really given us are the 4 elements, air, fire, earth, and water. What can we do with that? And the answer was exactly. So I said, okay, I'm going to rest on that for a little bit. Now, everything that we've been hearing about today makes me feel at home, because every person at some level or another has been talking about air, fire, earth, and water, right? Have y'all heard it? We started off with the libations and got an explanation, and then somebody else was talking about it. And it's been a recurring theme, along with this beautiful concept of oral tradition and healing. And so the premise of this book is that before I can teach my daughters anything about the beautiful methods that African people have used across millennia to secure their own sense of health and wellness, to preserve life, because we all know that African women have been having babies longer than anybody else in the world, right? And so along with that has accumulated some knowledge about how to preserve that life. Well, why is it that whenever we look on the TV, across the continent, on the Caribbean, and in this country, we always see African women in particular, and African people in general, foaming at the mouth, begging the West for some type of a medical intervention, some type of a saving at a medical level. And that didn't set right with my soul, as I'm sure as African people, it won't set right with your souls. And so all of this came to the conclusion that there's a powerful connection between freedom and health. And if I don't convey that to my future daughters, they might walk around the planet one day completely disconnected from their hair, which are an important part of their freedom system. They might be disconnected from their feet, which is supposed to be grounded in reality. They might be disconnected from their womb, which is supposed to be centered in divine creativity, to give birth to not only the life that is African, but also to the ideas that perpetuate through African lines. And then they might be disconnected from their head. So in the book, I'm talking about the body as a temple, and we've all heard that before, but I'm using some specific language. For example, the head is the crown, and it's not just the hair, it's the eyes, the ears, the nose, and the mouth, all of which relate to the four elements. The eyes, in some scriptures, are referred to as the lamps of the soul, right? And when someone is void of a soul, we say there's a light that's missing. That represents the fire element. The ears, ironically, correlate to the earth element, and I never noticed until I wrote this book, but the first three letters of the word earth is the word ear. And that's important. It's not etymologically created, but it was a little clue that I was headed in the right direction. And that means that vibration and sound and earth are important to our survival as a people. Now, the mouth obviously is connected to which element? Can y'all figure it out? We only got two left. Water, right? Your mouth is full of water. And then the nose is connected to which one? Come on, y'all, help me out here. Air, right? We need air and oxygen. So right on our head, we have the four elements, right? Now, the womb has all four of the elements, air, fire, earth, and water. But I had another problem. I found that no matter where I turned in the world, everybody in our community was using a foreign word to describe the most sacred part of a woman's body. And so one of the questions that I asked the Creator and our ancestors in writing this book is, why do we not refer to an African body with African terms? How can we expect our daughters and sons to honor African beauty if they can't even identify their own body in African language? So that was a question that I sought to resolve with this book. And then we talked about the feet, which relates to the water and the earth element. All of that's important, but it doesn't get until the end of the book. I wanted to do something very special with this book. And I wanted to start with our ancestors and what they knew about the four elements and how they connect to freedom and health. And the Most High said, I want you to start in 1852 with the Honorable Frederick Douglass. Well, the Honorable Frederick Douglass was invited, as I mentioned before, in 1852 to speak before the between the Ladies Anti-Slavery Society. And they invited him not to talk about freedom for enslaved people, but they were inviting him to celebrate their freedom from slavery from the British. And so he gets on the stage, and as a master speaker sometimes does, he disarmed his audience, and he invited them and let them know how humble he was and how unprepared he was to speak before that audience of 600 smiling white faces, ready to celebrate what was obviously needed to be celebrated. They were free from the British, and that was cause for celebration. Well, he takes the stage and he does what most speakers do. He opens up very gently, and then he lets them have it. But not in a way that we might think of as something that would literally invoke in a spiritual way, in a way that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would do and explain to us 118 years later when he gave his final speech in Memphis, Tennessee. This is so exciting, family. What the Honorable Frederick Douglass did was he talked about the fact that there was some elements that were going to be needed. And they weren't needed to ensure the independence of the people that he was speaking to. They were needed for his own people. So he said, it is not the light that we need, but the fire. It is not the gentle shower, but the storm. We need the thunder, the whirlwind, and the earthquake. Now, I don't know if y'all heard it, but I heard all four of the elements there. Did you hear it? Yes. Now, you might not be impressed, because that's a little, as we say, a little circumstantial, right? So I said, okay, all right, Mother, I heard that. So then later on in the speech, he goes on to talk about the destructive power of water. And if I may take a second to explain to you how he introduced this concept to the audience, it was very powerful the way he did it. And it was very enlightening and disrupting to the audience. He said, great streams are not easily turned from channels worn deep in the courses of ages. They may sometime rise in quiet and stately majesty and inundate the land, refreshing and refertilizing the earth with their mysterious properties. They may also rise in wrath and fury and bear away on their angry waves the accumulated wealth of years of toil and hardship. They, however, gradually flow back to the same old channel and flow on as serenely as ever. But while the river may not be turned aside, it may dry up and leave nothing behind but the withered branch and unsightly rock to howl in the abyss sweeping wind the sad tale of departed glory. And this is what he says, that sends shivers down your spine. He said, as with rivers, so with nations. Now that might not mean much to us right now, but in 1852, he had their attention. Because, mind you, this was a man who had self-emancipated. And he was sitting here talking about the destructive power of water. Remember, my question was, why are you comfortable with your people in this position? And the answer was, you have everything you need in the 4 elements. So I was like, okay. So I accepted that in my spirit, but I was not content as a lawyer and as a reasonable woman with presenting to my people the argument that we have everything we need to defeat our enemies in air, fire, earth, and water. I needed proof. But I started to procrastinate because I looked at my little library back there, and as small and humble as it was, I was not prepared to dig through all of those books looking for the words air, fire, earth, and water. And so I said, I'm not doing this right now. Well, one day, I got a knock at my spiritual door in the middle of the night, and it said, you procrastinating because you think you have time. Well, I got up out of my bed, and I started writing, and I removed my ego, and let me tell you what happened. Book, quote, song after song, illustration after illustration, just started pouring into my lap. And I'll tell you what I mean, because Brother Nat Turner had something to say about what I was trying to prove. He said, it would then reveal to me the knowledge of the elements, the revolution of the planets, the operation of tides and the changes of seasons. What did Nat Turner have to tell me about the 4 elements? Did you hear him? He said, it would then reveal to me the knowledge of the elements. What elements was he talking about? This was a man who was constantly looking up in the sky for signs about when to start the rebellion, right? Remember the connection between freedom and health? Follow me here. Well, let's go into the night before the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination. And I pray that if you have been bored with this king, that you will have a renewed sense of excitement about what he said. Because he did something 115 years after the Honorable Frederick Douglass's speech that really tripped my mind out, because it was on the night before his assassination, right? And what's so powerful was he was giving an explanation about what happened 5 years before in Selma on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And what he was doing was describing the fact that there was something operating in the unseen that we did not see with our eyes, that the television cameras did not capture. Freedom and health, remember the 4 elements? So I want you to listen to what Dr. Martin Luther King had to say to us on the night before his assassination, and why it's so relevant. Because this is the key to what I am teaching our daughters about why they need to be paying attention to the elements in everything that they do around freedom and health. Well, if you will bear with me, because I'm trying to hold the microphone in my hand. Hold this for a quick second. This is so important. If you will just bear with me as I gather this together, because I think it is going to illuminate something very powerful. Yeah, I want you to go back on your own time and re-pull up the speech, because you'll never find this part of it highlighted or recorded. He said, Bull Connor next would say, turn the fire hoses on. And as I said to you the other night, Bull Connor didn't know history. He knew a kind of physics that somehow didn't relate to the trans physics that we knew about. And that was the fact that there's a certain kind of fire that no water could put out. And we went before the fire hose. We had no water. If we were Baptist or some other denomination, we had been immersed. If we were Methodist or some other, we had been sprinkled, but we knew water. That couldn't stop us. And we just went on before the dogs, and we would look at them. And we would go on before the water hoses, and we would look at it, and we just go on singing. Just over my head, I see freedom in the air. Did y'all hear it? Yeah. Fire, air, water. I said, wow. Now, I had written chapter 3 of this book where I had already laid out, I was pleased with myself. Frederick Douglass, Mother Harriet Tubman, Mother Harriet Jacobs, the first enslaved woman to write her own biography, talking about air, fire, earth, and water. Now, here was Dr. King introducing us to a new word. Did y'all hear metaphysics? No. He said trans-physics. He took a new word. He took a prefix trans, which means to go across, beyond, from the other side, and physics, which universally means the study of the natural world. And he said, well, Connor didn't know history. So I'm saying to myself, well, Dr. King, what do you... Dr. King was going to knock on us, family. He said, Bull Connor didn't know history. The history of what? The 4 elements of trans-physics? Of what is it that the Honorable Frederick Douglass did? Well, what did he do? He warned the people that if you do not reconcile with your oppressed masses, you will have to deal with these 4 elements. And many of the experts on the Civil War, which happened just 10 years later, just 10 years after Frederick Douglass made that declaration or petition asking for some divine intervention. Now, you got to remember, we don't pay attention like white folk pay attention. When we speak, they listen. When they speak, we try to overtalk them and tell them, you don't know nothing about slavery. Listen, they listened to what that man had to say because they had a prophet. His name was Thomas Jefferson. Their prophet told them in the Notes of Virginia, I tremble for my country when I think of the fact that God is just, and his justice cannot sleep forever. That somehow, by supernatural intervention, a change of course is possible. See, those were prophetic words that haunt every black man and woman in here today. Because we think we are battling racism. We are battling ancient prophets who are not content with what has happened in the past, white or black. And they are here fighting through the elements. Now, I don't know if you recognize that young man up there. His name is the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Yes. Well, guess what he did? He added something to this equation about air, fire, earth, and water, but Mama said you don't have any more time to talk about it. So y'all gonna have to get the book.
You could have told us about Marcus now. You know, we always want to hear about Marcus inside. How fast is it? Okay. You know we got to hear about Marcus. Just like this, you know.
He was one of the years we feel.
That's right. That's what we're starting now.
Yeah, right.
matriarch is righteous, and they support the divine matriarchy. But this divine patriarch is sitting in prison in Tombs in Atlanta after being falsely accused and indicted and prosecuted for mail fraud, right? And he should be worried about himself, but he's penning a letter to us. And in this letter, now remember my theme is air, fire, earth, and water, freedom, and health. There always is a connection between the two. You cannot have one without the other. And the moment we start to convince our children of that, then they are going to modify what they are doing to their bodies around health and wellness. Because they will realize that their fingernails, their head, their eyes, everything has to be used for freedom. All right. Well, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said, if death has power, then count on me and death to be the real Marcus Garvey I would like to be. If I may come in an earthquake, or a cyclone, or plague, or pestilence, or as God would have me, then be assured that I shall never desert you, or make your enemies triumph over you. Look for me in the whirlwind or the storm. Look for me all around you. For with God's grace, I shall come and bring with me countless millions of black slaves who have died in America and the West Indies and the millions in Africa to aid you in your fight for liberty, freedom, and life. Freedom and health. You see the connection? So here we have 4 people. Daniel Turner, Frederick Douglass, Dr. King, the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, Booker T. Washington. I pity the man or woman who has not learned to enjoy nature and to derive peace from it. And Mother Harriet Tubman and Harriet Jacobs all have something to say around this concept of trans-physics. Study Dr. King. He was a lot more complicated than he let us on to believe. Study that speech about the Honorable Frederick Douglass that talked about the invocation, and I'll tell you one more thing. 7 years, 7 is the year of completion, after he gave that speech, we have the biggest and most deadliest EMP in world history on record. You know what an EMP is? Everybody's terrified of it right now. It's called an electromagnetic pulse. It is a sign in the heavens. Do you not think our ancestors were aware that something was shifting in the heavens? It shut down the entire world government systems because they were using the telegraph. I kept saying to myself, I'm reading about how our ancestors were escaping slavery, and I couldn't figure out how did we always find out and get the message in New York so fast? They had the telegraph. The telegraph was lightning speed technology that told them when Mother Harriet Tubman had escaped and when she was going to be in New York. So that's how they were communicating. It shut it down. It shut it down. So there is a connection between freedom and health and the 4 elements in a more meaningful way than we have been allowing ourselves to pay attention to. And in this book, I break it down chapter by chapter, including my personal ancestors and their connection to medicine and freedom using little household tools like copper pennies, pork fat, to heal massive wounds, tetanus, blindness, all kinds of things like that. And if you love oral tradition, you'll love my book.
Thank you so much. So glad you added the last part about illustrious leader Marcus Messiah Garvey. Our next presenter, because we're moving on. Where is he? Come on down. Okay, we talked about Dr. Francis Press Welsing as being one of our ancestors, and there's a group of us in here that had the opportunity to be called what we call Welsonites, and we followed Dr. Welsing wherever she went. Now, one of the chief Welsonites, we have 3 here, and then I consider myself a Welsonite because I had the opportunity of meeting Dr. Welsing when I was either a junior or a senior at Howard University. And I was walking down through Frederick Douglass Hall, and someone said, "You need to go in there and listen to that lady." And once I went in there and I heard Dr. Wells speak, she changed my life. And I just happened to follow her wherever she went and wherever she represented. When she passed and she transitioned, I was telling my dad how sad I was of her leaving because it was very sudden. And I told him I felt like a family member had passed. And he said, probably so, because you probably saw her around more than you saw any of your family members. And that was true. So I just want to say, we still miss her, but her words always speak true. I don't care how long ago it was 6 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Her words still speak true. So one of our official Welsonites and historian and recorder of Dr. Wells is here. Oh, we should say, Danny has to go and then you go. Okay? Okay? I said Danny has to leave, and after Danny's finished, then you okay.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters out of living room. Of young. Yeah, let me say, it was my honor and pleasure to be able to work with the late Honorable Dr. Francis Prince Walton for 30 years, maybe more. We had a very simple relationship. I met her in her office. I knew who she was. She didn't know who I was from the whole time. And I told her who I was and what I did. And she said she was looking for someone to come and record the lectures. And I said, here am I. And I did that for 30-some years. We had a very simple relationship. No lawyers, no contract. So I recorded all those years, and we had a handshake and a hug. Now, you try to do business with some folk now with a handshake and a hug. it ain't like that. So she said to me, well, Danny, she said, you do all the lectures, and because I ain't got time, baby. Can I get your attention? She said, I don't have any time to be dragging tapes and stuff around. She said, so you record all the lectures, we sell all the lectures that do, all the tapes and everything at the lectures. And she said, you keep the 60, give me the 40. Handshake and hug, simple relationship. And when she came to the lecture, I had everything set up. All she had to do is come and pick up the mic and start talking. Because I always make sure I was there for her. But the other thing that I do also, and it has been all my life, is those who know me already know that I've been a poet all my life. Since the time I was 6 years old, I've been a poet. And so my latest book, I have a new one coming out in the spring, but my latest book is simply entitled The Book of Trees. And so Dr. Walton was my mentor. And so I couldn't help but put her on the cover of my latest book. Simply entitled The Book of Trees. I attribute to a whole lot of people, but since she's my #1 mentor, I put her on the cover. And so I'd like to share 2 pieces with you from my latest book, and it's simply entitled, one is entitled Chocolate Rainbow, and the subtitle is Shades of Black. Chocolate rainbow, shades of black. Black, white, brown, red, yellow, and tan. All shades of the rainbow come from the original man. The missing link to what we as a people lack is loving who we are in all shades of black. Mocha, sepia, sable, red bone, cinnamon, mahogany, pearl. Children of the sun, coming from, living in a color-struck world. Whatever shade of ebony to ivory you might be, black is black, I am you, and you are me. You can't possess the soul essence of somebody else. So to love and know who you are is to be yourself. Beyond our shackles of sick color-struck shame, as a people we are all colored one and the same. The one drop rule will always undervalue and demean the wannabes, the jigaboos, and every shade in between. Black on black love is so power validation. This bright-eyed brown bag, blue veil indoctrination. Interracial prejudice, preference, and pride are reflections of a past that cannot be denied. As a human rainbow with the wind in our back, the power of self-respect comes in all shades of black. Honey brown, peanut butter, vanilla, chocolate, copper tone, cocoa maple, nocturnal rose, rainbow, brick house, brownstone. Whatever shade of ebony to ivory you might be, black is black, I am you, and you are me. From ruby red brown to a black walnut pecan, lemon strawberry peach to a beach sand colored tan. The missing link to what we as a people have is loving who we are in all shades of life. Chapel Rainbow. The next and the last piece I'd like to do is simply entitled. Y'all help me out. Y'all repeat after me, because this is my reparation point. Sister. Sister teacher. Repeat after me. Pay me my money. Pay me my money. This is a reparations point, y'all. It may seem basic, but it's heavy. Just so you pay me all that I'm due. If you have to rob Peter to pay Paul, that's on you. I'm coming from all ends just to make ends meet. So I'm overworked, underpaid, and dead on my feet. Don't want to rain on nobody's parade, but I want what I need, and I'm trying to get paid. And if you don't have it, no, I won't try and understand. So pay me my money, all of my money, just as soon as you can. I can't help but to regret it, because sometimes it's gone before I get it. And if I had what's due to me instead of just make and do, I could pay Peter, Paul, and Mr. Bobo too. Don't need to rain on nobody's parade, but I want what I need, and I'm trying to get paid. And if you don't have it, no, I won't try and understand. So pay me my money, all of my money, just as soon as you can. Pay me my money. Thank you.
So much. I want my money, right? Pay me my money. Okay. Yes. Ready? Now we're gonna have Brother Bruce. There was another brother who's a black architect. He's gonna come out. And Bruce is here to represent him. His name is, this guy's name is, okay.
Okay. Can anybody hear me? Can you hear me all right now? No? Who's that guy back here? You want me on the microphone? Okay. Tell everybody how you been doing. All right. My name is Brother Bruce. I know 3/4 of you, my first name, and I got bad news for you. The good news and super bad news. Super bad news. Okay, what do you want to hear first? Good news. I'll give you super bad news. I'll give you bad news first. I'm dying. Give you bad news, super bad news. You're dying. It's good news. I ain't dying today, nobody. We're all right. Okay. When I was working with Steve Copeland, I bring these ancestors up because when we live and die, it ain't over. Why? Because we study ancient Kemetic religion, the Memphite theology. Brother Bay's still here. Brother Bay is still here. He's not in physical form, but I'm going to come here and talk all that stuff, okay? We'll get that stuff. When I was at Steve Copeland, I did the front of his lecture. You know, when you see Jay Leno at 11:30, there's another comedian that warms the audience up before Jay Leno comes at 11:30. I used to warm up the audience before Steve Copeland with a thing called BBBNB. Brother Bruce's Business News for blacks. So I'll give you a bit of business news before I get back to what we're going to do. Okay? A couple minutes. Bad news, Lauren Press Love is in rehab. She's not doing good. You know, she's falling. You all have to be falling. So, young man in Chicago, check on Lauren Press Love, fresh check up sister. Tony Browder had a heart attack, November 29th. And, he's doing okay. It was mild. There's no residual, as he said. It's nothing, it's very routine. But we got to take care of our health. Brother back here, you got doctors and stuff. And you don't have to be a doctor to take care of your health. But I didn't come through all that. Who else is new? Oh, yeah. This is one for your social life. All y'all know about the CIAA basketball championship in Charlotte, North Carolina, right? Yeah, you heard that, right? It's in Baltimore in 2 weeks. Hello? We're going to jam in Baltimore. The CIAA championship is in Baltimore this year, February 21st or something like 21st or 5th. Also, I don't know if they mentioned it, they might have mentioned it, I can't hear stuff. The New Republic of Africa is having their conference. The Kishi is going to be a Roots. The New Republic of Africa conference. It's going to be here. It's going to be here, right? It's late in the month, right?
Yeah, you mean reparations awareness day?
You can check and find out. That's not your conference, okay? Okay, before we get down to this. I do have a new book.
On the February.
Coming out, I have a couple. I'll be rock and rolling in 23. But I didn't come here for my book. I came up here for one of my friends in architecture. Everybody knows Roscoe here, right?
Yes.
Roscoe started architecture at Howard University in 1963. I started in 1964. In 1962, another brother named Melvin Mitchell. He's in the FAIA. What's that? That's the AIA. He's a fellow. He writes books. He's supposed to come here, but he's busy. He's one of the biggest architects in Washington, D.C. Brian, they do a lot of stuff. He had Brian Mitchell, but Brian died. So I got a couple of books here, and he's supposed to come. So if you want to get his book, he wrote a book. Okay. You may help us. Called The Crisis of the African-American Architect. This is some of y'all might be interested in this stuff. He patterned it after the crisis of the Negro power group. He mentioned that. This is on another book, I saw this that. What is the crisis of the African-American architect? As an architecture, they got 5 architecture schools in this area. Howard, UDC, Catholic University, University of Maryland, and University of Virginia. No, not Virginia Tech, over here on Alexandria, on the waterfront, they have a division. I went to 3 of them. I love architecture, but I didn't do it. But what is the crisis? Housing. You get an architecture degree, you do houses. You ain't gonna build all this stuff. It's right there, you build a house up in Mount Virginia. That's what it is. But it's a good book. It has a lot of good information in it, and it's a revised issue. I got it when it first came out. It's $25, The Crisis of the African-American Architect. I think if you want to get it. He got another book. This came out in 15 years ago. It's over here. He has a new book out. You know the new museum of African art downtown, right? He's in that group. I'm not. I'm a Kasiki. I'm just a regular old guy, you know. He's a man from California. There's a professor right here. He used to be. He's looking around. This is it. It has the new museum on top. This is history of all the African-American architecture that was. Good book. African-American architects, embracing culture and building an urban community. One of Melvin's books, and I don't think he started it, but he said it when I said it back to him. He wasn't back to do it. He said, architecture is not about the hard sciences. It's about the culture. Architecture is about the culture. But this book is $25, and I got to give one story on that now. I get off the phone. Got a lot of good stuff in there. Paul Revere architect had to draw upside. I know you probably seen Ellen DeGeneres in some of the programs where a guy comes out the paint and then he flips over and he's drawing upside down. You know, he's drawing the paint. He's painting and he flips it over, he draws upside down. Imagine drawing architecture upside down. Paul Revere Williams. He did some Frank Sinatra. I don't know who people with that. I don't know stuff. I don't study this stuff. A lot of stuff on mine. You go on the internet and all stuff on the internet is wrong. Something wrong. They had Paul Revere Williams inventing the helicopter. Wrong. If you see that, all the internet is not correct. I saw that said there might be a Paul Williams, but not Paul Revere Williams, the black man. He said black man invented the helicopter. No. He was, of course, I graduated from Stratford, Connecticut, and that's where Igor Sikorsky was. Sikorsky. When I was in high school, I had 3 guys in my advanced math class named Sikorsky. You never heard it. What was your name? Sikorsky. You see the president with the plane, the Marine One, the vice president, I'm on the roof, I see him flying across. Those are Black Hawk Down, you see them? Those are Sikorsky helicopters. And so, but Igor Sikorsky came in 39, I get off of him, and he just made the helicopter better. He didn't build it. Look at that. What is going on? That's got it. Wait, you can't go out there. You got the hook? Pull me out. Okay, thank you. I got 3 books coming out this year. And I don't know if I have book signing, but I have book signing. I'll make you show here early. And I got one of them, I'll show you in a second. No, I can show you. I'll show it to you right over to there. Got a book on architecture, a book on mapping, another dictionary book, a couple other things. Well, but let me tell you about Adekra. And I'll make it clear. Adekra is not what you think it is. I wrote 2 books on Adekra. The Critical Affirmation, that's the one I read there. 98. This is important. I made mistakes. The elders who told me what to write and okayed it, it's wrong. Not wrong, it's not correct. You know when you go to the back, there's a lawyer back there, you see, when you go in the courtroom, you put your hand on the Bible, right? Say the truth. What do you say, truth? The whole truth? And not one truth. I didn't know there were 3 truths. One truth. Okay. The thing is, this is what a Negro is. That's not playing around. I said it was symbols. They got it from King and Negro. This is what a Negro is. A Negro, the Akan people, Akan from Ghana, the accumulated knowledge that they had and wisdom, they put it into proverbs. They made symbols. A Negro is the transgenerational knowledge that the Akan transferred to the children symbolically. That's what it is. It's not the cloth. That's what it came to be. I'll say it again. It's a transgenerational knowledge from the Akan people. They're kind of bad. Old ways, kid day. Oh man, the boys are bad. And also I like to run. Nancy. Y'all know Nancy, this Bible. Read my second book, I think. And Nancy, that's where he got Bugs Bunny from, right? learn it from Steve Coker. They say check.
Check.
Check. See? That's all y'all.
Check.
Check. All right.
Thank you, thank you. What he didn't tell you is Brother Bruce is a student of architecture, and he graduated from the School of Architecture at Howard University. He didn't tell you that part. But I got that out of him one day. Okay, thank you so much, Brother Bruce.
Summertime. Barbara decided him out. That's his kind of book. It's finished. Triple A. Rock and roll.
Please go over there and check out what the books that he has. And our next people are two Welsonites. What? Excuse me? Hold on just 1 second. Pause, just a minute.
Oh, yeah. It's been 7 years ago, man. 7 years ago. She might go be tired. Around $4,000, $5,000.
Okay, we have a quick commercial. When we were talking about ancestors,
Yeah, 1969.
I went back and I looked at the table and I saw this t-shirt or sweatshirt. And everybody on here, except for 2 women, are ancestors now. So, I don't even remember if we honored them, but I would like to honor these women now. I would like to honor Ida B. Wells. I would like to honor Coretta Scott King. I would like to honor Maya Angelou. I would like to honor Ella Baker. I would like to honor, I did hear Harry Tubman's name. I would like to honor Rosa Parks. I would like to honor Rosa and Zora Neale Hurston. I would also, we've heard from, and we're going to hear from them again, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and finally, some woman that I had an opportunity to meet, Nina Simone. I would like to honor all of those sisters. They are now our ancestors. And you can purchase this t-shirt or sweatshirt over in the corner over here. All right, are you all ready? Okay. Sabrina and Bill are also Welsonites. I don't think they followed Dr. Welsing as long as I have. I think I'm one of the longest, oldest followers of her. But they've been in the trenches through thick and thin through Dr. Welsing's quest. Sabrina, since Dr. Welsing has passed, has picked up the mantle and still conducts meetings with the Frances Cress Welsing Institute. Bill is Neely Fuller protege. And between the 2 of them, they have helped to spread the word between Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and I like to call him, instead of Mr. Fuller, Dr. Neely Fuller. So, you all are ready now? Okay, we can begin.
Peaceful greetings, everyone. Good to see you this afternoon. Again, I'm Sabrina Johnson, a longtime devoted student of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. The same holds true for Brother Bill Reeves. We worked very closely with Dr. Welsing and Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. for decades. And indeed, of them together to have met and to have put both pieces together in terms of understanding the system of racism, white supremacy, what it is, and what it is that we can do with our own individual power and practices to replace the system of white supremacy with a system of justice is phenomenal. With all of the knowledge of our history and culture prior to the enslavement phase of the system of white supremacy, with everything that we had endured in the centuries, the decades after, there's something that keeps us subject to the system of white supremacy. We have not yet solved the problem, but with the teachings and the analysis and the behavioral practices that Dr. Welsing and Mr. Fuller have shared with us, if we are willing to embrace them, to be serious, to study, to share, then we can indeed, we are equipped with the tools, our minds, and what we do with our individual time and attention, we can achieve the goal objective of replacing the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. And the most critical component of it is the use of words as tools. So I want to pass the mic to Brother Bill, and we'd like to have a bit of dialogue. We're doing this a bit differently this year. We'll have some dialogue, and we also invite you in the audience to present questions or comments, because we really want to work through what it is that we can do day to day as individuals, not relying necessarily on an organization in the conventional sense, but what to do and what to say, what not to do and what not to say in any situation that we encounter day by day.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. Again, my name is Bill Reeves, and I was asked to represent the books of Neil Fuller, and to sum up what his books address, I'd like to read the about the writer or author that's on the rear of his book. It says, I, Neely Fuller, Jr., the writer/author of this book, have been, like millions of others, a long-time victim of and servant to racism, white supremacy in all areas of activity. My experiences and observations and studies have led me to believe the following. Racism has done more to promote non-justice than any other social maturity system to have been produced or supported by the people of the known universe. No major problem that exists between people of the known universe can be eliminated until racism is eliminated. The fear, frustration, malice, and confusion that is caused by racism retards or prevents all constructive activity between the people of the known universe. The only functional form of racism that exists among the people of the known universe is white supremacy. The people who have the ability to eliminate racism do not have the will to do so, and the people who have the will to do so do not have the ability. Regardless of all that has been said or done, the quality of relationships between white people and black people is and has been a total disaster. Justice is better than racism.